Welcome to the video of Vort. The Torah tells us that Bnei Yisrael once again complained in the desert about the man, the lechem haklokel, this terrible food that Hashem rained down from heaven in order to nourish them in the desert. The Torah says that in response to this complaint, Hashem sent the nechashim, the snakes, to attack the Jewish people and cause a great death and destruction. This was the consequence. This was the punishment that Klal Yisrael suffered for their complaint against the man. And the question is, assuming this is divine justice, as hard as it is for us to wrap our heads around that, the question is, how is the advent of the Nachash a good and appropriate response, consequence to the complaint against the man? Rabbi Yitzchak Stolman in his Sefer Minchas Yitzchak, published in 1948, suggests that the answer to this goes back to the original Nachash, an original sin. See, the original sin isn't just the first sin, it is the origin of all sin. Rabbi Stolman cites the Yalkut Shimoni, that based on a play of words in the Chumash, that when the Nachash eats food, the Nachash crushes the food, if you will, and turns it into dust, into afar. And this is not just perhaps a crude science lesson about how a snake digests its food, but this is a deeper point to be understood as a metaphor. That the Nachash takes the most beautiful thoughts, ideas, values, spiritual notions, and reduces everything into afar, into material need, and looks at everything through the prism of its material value. Take the most lofty ideas, the most thoughtful, nuanced concepts, the values that make a life truly meaningful, and the Nachash reduces everything, crushes it into afar, into material calculus. And this is the root, really, of Avera, because when we sin, we are trading in something eternal for a momentary gratification. Says Rabbi Stolman, the Jewish people were complaining about the man. What was the man? The man was this simple food raining down from heaven. It was God's presence among us, and through this we were so nourished that we required nothing else. And all the Nachash sees is lechem klokel. It takes a material look at the man and said, "This is just rotten food. There's really nothing here. It is unsatisfying. It is dissatisfying and unsatisfactory." That is the Nachash. And so for this, says Rabbi Stolman, Hashem sent the Nachash, Midah keneged midah, measure for measure. The message for each of us is that we have to rise above the inclinations that we have within ourselves to look at life through the prism of the Nachash, through the prism of material calculus, and transcend it, and thus lead a transcendent life, a life of meaning and a life of value. Kein Yiratzon, good Shabbos.